Light TV. Welcome to your program, Security of Lives and Property. Today we'll be discussing with Mr. Olasunkanmi Ayeni, the PRO of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Kwara State Command. We'll be talking about a lot of things. We're talking about the development and the achievements, the actions and inactions of the NSCDC since its inception, well, in Kwara State and in Nigeria at large. And then from the late development that have been happening across Nigeria, the looting and relooting of both, the looting and vandalizing of both public and private properties in Nigeria, which Kwara State is known as an exception. So today, I'm me once again, Mr. Olasunkanmi Ayeni. I'm your host, Isaiah Abdulkadir. Ola, you're welcome on the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
So before we go deep, sir, I would like a lot of people, if you ask a lot of people, many people do not even know what NSCDC means. Many people do not even know your name. The only thing they know is civil defense, civil defense.
Yeah.
If you tell them the full name, many people are not even familiar with the name. So
yeah,
can you give us the background knowledge of?
Yeah, NSCDC means Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. That's the acronyms NSCDC, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. That's it. And you may wish to know that it came up in 1967 after the Civil War. Then it was Lagos Civil Defense, and gradually with other activities, then they were to support the military wherever the military captured, and they had the people to go there to keep the place, to safeguard the place unharmed. Then to sensitize the public how to save themselves, how to safeguard themselves, how to protect themselves. That was the initial function, and that was the initial activities of the Lagos Civil Defense then, before it later metamorphosed into Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, which we have today.
Alright, sir. I personally, I'll tell you that I'm hearing that something like NSCDC have been in existence for almost the past 50 years now.
You know, civil defense is an international organization.
Alright.
It's known everywhere in the world. We have it in other countries, developing countries and developed countries. So it's been there even before 1967.
Alright.
But it kick-started in 1967 here in Nigeria.
Alright.
Yes.
So since 1967, before you became a full government, under the command of the government.
Yes.
Now you are now under the government. Since you've been under the government, what have been your duties? What have been your achievements in Nigeria? Yes. How have you been able to help the security apparatus?
Yes. Before 2003, when the civil defense was regularized by the federal government, we used to have volunteer. We call it. It was then it was an NGO, kind of. Then we have volunteer members who were there. Then it was the activities, it was the performance of these volunteer people that actually encouraged the government to regularize civil defense. I'm sure if they've not been performing that time, if they've not been doing something to the admiration of the federal government, they wouldn't have regularized the Corps. Having said that, since the regularization of the Corps, 2003, when the Act was passed, when the bill was passed into law, and it became a full-fledged government security agents, then since that time we've been having it good to the glory of God, and I think I will leave the public to judge the performance of the Corps.
Sir, this might sound sober, but I want you to go into this. So when you say that the kudos of the incorporation of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps into a full-fledged government parastatal, can we give the kudos only to the administration that brought it into fruition, or the preceding administration have always made steps like I've always taken steps to do such before?
I think the kudos should be given to Nigerian government. Yes, it was General Ibrahim Babangida that gave an order. Before now, when civil defense has not been regularized, it was only in Lagos State. Then later, General Ibrahim Babangida, then the former president of Nigeria, when he was in power, gave an order that the civil defense must be established in all states of the federation. And if he did not do that at that time, I doubt if
the administration
that eventually regularized it would have done that. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that the kudos and the thanks should go back to the federal government that has contributed to the establishment of civil defense in Nigeria. But majorly, it was Chief Olusegun Obasanjo in 2003 that actually it was his regime, it was his tenure that brought
an assent to the bill.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. And now let's leave the federal level. Let's come to Kwara State.
All right.
You have been around, like somebody like me will say that I've been hearing about NCDC. I mean, civil defense, since I've been young. So, how would you say you've been able to help us? You know, normally we are known as peaceful people.
Yes.
In the state of harmony.
Yes.
So a lot of people will tell you that the security men are not really working. But sociologists will tell you that it is hard to maintain peace even than to create peace. So how have you been doing it?
Yes. To the glory of God, like you know, Kwara is a state of harmony. And like rightly said in your submission, that to maintain peace sometimes is even more, you know, it takes more time than you trying to
create peace. Where's that going to rest?
Yes, yes. So the energy you impute, the time, your commitment in maintaining peace, in ensuring that peace and stability is in society, you know, people may not actually recognize it, but honestly it's enormous. Now what I would say in Kwara, we should give the kudos for the peace to the people of Kwara. Kwara by nature, by culture, by tradition, they are peaceful people. But that notwithstanding, I think kudos should even go to all of us security agencies that ensure that we are proactive. Nobody was expecting some things that came up in Kwara. Due to the nature, due to the tradition, Kwara is known relatively to be a very peaceful place. So one would have thought that for things like this to come up in Kwara, every other state would have been consumed. But here we are now. But then that notwithstanding, I think in conjunction with other security agencies, been trying our best to be proactive enough to ensure that the relative peace is maintained in conjunction with the government and every other stakeholders to ensure that Kwara is peaceful.
Let me say this before we leave the part of introduction.
Okay.
As a Yoruba person, I used to speak Yoruba a lot, and when we talk about NSCDC, if they want to translate it into Yoruba, they call it Ajo Abuareni Labulu.
Yes.
Which means we have to do our own part,
yes,
so that you'll be able to achieve your own goals.
Yes.
So the people helped you, like have we do our own abu so that you'll be able to help
Very
us?
well, very well. I think one should appreciate Kwarans once again for being cooperative in sharing intelligence information with us. You see, we are not gods, and we rely on the people of Kwara to feed us with relative information, intelligence information, so as to proactively combat or stop crimes in Kwara, or to reduce it to the barest minimum. So the information from people, the intelligence information from people cannot be put aside. The community, the society people, they've been trying their best. Of course, they have shown a lot of trust in civil defense, and we appreciate this, and we'll continue to appreciate that. So they have made us to commit ourselves more because of the trust that they have in us. And so we've been following this with all our hearts to ensure that we do not disappoint them. So people of Kwara have been cooperating, but we can always ask for more, for them to support us more in fielding us with necessary information so as to help ourselves in securing our states.
I'll tell you as a Kwara that we'll do more.
Thank you.
Do more of our best.
Thank you.
Then let's go to the recent development. Recent, I would say, unfortunate development in the whole of the country.
Yeah.
Let's go to the national terrain before we come there. The looting and relooting of both vandalizing of both public and private properties that have been going on in almost every part of the country. Even some got the warehouse, they can't get anything. This issue of warehouse is now a common word. Even a kid know what a warehouse means. Even they don't know, they might not know the literal meaning, but when you say we discover a warehouse, they know that that's where government is keeping something that belongs to them, which have even graduated into people looting what does not belong to the government. How will you describe that?
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate that we have such inquiry. It's saddening. Some people were misguided. Some youth were misguided by those hoodlums to have committed such that kind of a crime. You know, the effect of this event is cannot be told now. It's going to be a long time something. You know, it just came up as if it was a dream. And it's honestly, it's so terrible, it's so grievous that we experience this inquiry. So the effect is much, because now we're going to look at this from psychological effect of the owners of these businesses that were looted. You just imagine yourself having a shop, having stocked your shop so much, and coming to meet your shop the next day being looted, being vandalized. Let's not even talk about those government warehouse, but then even at that, even those ones too, I think it was rather not being done well by the hoodlums. I wouldn't call them protesters. Those who went there to vandalize people's properties, those who went there to loot people's properties, they are not protesters, they are hoodlums, they are looters. And at our hand, with other security agencies, we're trying to do our best to ensure that such does not happen again, then to ensure that we recover as many as possible. As we speak now, if you come to our command now, you'll be surprised with a lot of recoveries that we have made. We have made some arrests too, and as I speak to you, they have been arraigned before court, and virtually all of them are now pulling their head in the prison for joining bad gang to commit such crime, to bring that untold hardship to Kwara. It was really bad. It was grievous. We never imagined that. That is where we are.
All right, but even at that, a lot of people will say that when this happened in Kwara State Cargo Airport, Ilorin, and it's extended to the Kwara Custom Command, then to various parts of the state, the ShopRite, Femtech, and all other parts, a lot of people lost their businesses. Many people will say you are security experts.
Yes.
That didn't you foresee it? Like this didn't happen. A lot of people say it begins around 11, 10 a.m. in the morning. So, and then the looting of public and private properties started around 10, 7 p.m. in the evening.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, why didn't you foresee that coming?
The events of that day was such an event that one cannot but call it crisis. That one, you know, the way it started, when we got the information that the cargo airport is about to be vandalized, mobilize our people to that place. And of course, we have a limited personnel here in Kwara. And of course, at that point, it was just our organization and few others that was responding to call. Because the other agencies who would have been played the lead role, of course, because of the allegations on ground, because of the actions of people against them, decided to withdraw back so that there won't be much casualty. So the numbers of personnel on ground could not adequately cover the whole places. And we are talking of us being civil. not to have many casualties. Otherwise, if it were to be covered the way we should do it, without minding lives, and of course, the way it has gone now, yes, we have lost properties, people have lost their businesses, but no one can say here now that the security men actually killed anybody. So, and to that extent, I think we should thank God for that. The place was covered, and the point His Excellency gave an order that whoever that's coming there to carry anything, I mean at the airport cargo, they should be allowed to carry those foods and go, but they should not vandalize anything. But you know what our people can do? Even with our presence there, we're able to guide them not to mess up the place. Just carry the food and go. So we got a hint that they were going to vandalize
ShopRite.
that they were going to custom. Yes. And necessary intelligence information was shared. And that was why they were able to, to stop them from gaining access into custom. They were repaired at custom service office. So before they now moved to ShopRite, and the crowd was mammoth. Like I told you, we have limited personnel, would have covered that. And in that case, if you have to use maximum force to stop them, you know what it means. So the best way to handle such, or the way we've been able to handle it, was just to allow them, in order not to have casualties. But I'm sure those who were caught now must be regretting their actions for now. And the security agencies are all out to fish more of them out.
All right, thank you, sir. But in view of being more proactive than reactive, as a as a security apparatus, some people will want to fault that once you've gotten the hint that government properties are not safe, like there should have been a lot of things done to guard private properties. But one thing I would like to say is that those people, they say that they are beating more than they can chew. Now a lot of them are Aquarians being helpful in pinpointing some people, in getting a lot of people down.
Foreign people are fantastic people. They are good people. So many Qurans are people with good conscience. Since we started this exercise, what my commandant did, Commandant Makinde Scale Ayeni, what he did after the looting, on Monday, he went out in conjunction with National Retention Agency to sensitize the public and to tell them the need for them to maintain peace, and whoever that has all these looted items in their houses should find a means of returning them peacefully without being chased. And since then, we've seen people turning things by the roadside, some to the mosque, some to the church, some to they just places in a conspicuous place where you can just see them. And as I'm talking to you now, if you come to my command now, you'll be surprised with what you see there. So the same thing with police and all that. In our prayer divisions, we have a lot of things. And we have told people who have evidence of those materials to come up, we'll do the legal thing, and we'll return their looted material back to them.
Let me talk as a youth now. I've never been a looter. I don't ever pray to be one.
Yeah, good.
But one thing is this. There's an information circulating the Kwara State political, mostly what's up that if you return things you loot, you are liable to be free and go.
Yeah.
How true is that, sir?
I can assure you of civil defense that if you voluntarily bring any looted item, you'll be left unhurt. I can assure you that. I can give you my word for that. We have seen people coming up with it, and you can ask them. I wish this was a live program or interactive program with the community or with the listeners. Otherwise, you would have seen that people would have testified that those who came in with those looted materials voluntarily, they were released.
Normally, I should be able to testify to that. I've seen somebody that did that. So, just for the public. That was meant for the public.
Yeah.
Now, let's go to what actually snowballed into this looting routine, the protest that was going around the country.
Right.
And Did you ever for once, like as a body, not as a person, did you as a body, did you ever for once foresee that it could actually snowball into what it became?
Yes, as a civil defender, well trained, that this prolonged protest may end up in this kind of situation, because there's no way you will continue to have this kind of protest in Nigeria and the hoodlums will not find a means of hijacking it. Even a day protest, they do hijack it, not to talk of a prolonged protest. Of course, when the protest was ongoing, they were somewhere, strategizing on how to hijack it and turn it to another thing. But like I told you, we had a very limited personnel. So had it been the section was not alleged, or they were not being attacked so much, had it been, it was everyone, if it was all the security agencies that came out to salvage the situation, probably would have been able to do something reasonable. But our hand, like I told you, we were in our own way proactive, but we have a limited personnel. So the reason why we could not stop most of these things was because we do not have enough personnel.
Talking about the sister apparatus that has been accused of several things by Nigerians, both home and abroad, of a lot of things. Before, when the protest was ongoing, both in Kwara and in Nigeria as a whole, what would you say the rapport between you and the protesters was like?
Yes, even the alleged organization, Nigerian police, they were still there guiding and securing the protesters, so that this thing will not escalate into what we are seeing now. So what we were doing that time was to equally ensure that the protesters were protected, then the protest was not hijacked by hoodlums. But what happened was that the hoodlums, they eventually started their own without these protesters. The one at airport was not a protest. You get it? If it were to be protesters, they've always been within the metropolis, moving around post office and all that, going to government house, going to headquarters of Nigerian police and all that, and they were peaceful about it. But those who went around to loot public properties and to vandalize public properties, to loot people's private businesses, they weren't the protesters. So it was these hoodlums that we've been trying to, stop from hijacking the protest. So that's it.
It actually came to the unfortunate event.
It was the prolonged protest.
Right.
If after some days of protest they have decided to meet up with the government and do all this, probably may not have experienced this.
I think it would be best if you hear their own side of the story. They know they would know better why they're still on the street after 10 days. And you said something repeatedly. You repeated that the issue of personnel, that you do not have enough personnel. Even the police in Nigeria are saying that they don't have enough personnel.
Yes.
Even the lecturers in the universities complain that they don't have enough personnel. Even the people in the health sector, they're saying that they don't have enough personnel. Have you, as a body, have you written the federal government or done anything to the government to let them know that you need enough personnel?
Without any, even without the government being told, government is more aware, they are more informed, even than myself and you. The daily report from different organizations, the daily report from different agencies tells the government more than we are saying now. So they are aware. The government is aware that we do not have enough personnel. Yes, if we are to compare ourselves with the developed countries where you have a security man to 10 citizens, can you do that in Nigeria?
No, it's not even.
If you have to add up the numbers of civil defenders, Nigerian police, and other few agencies that are shadowed with the responsibilities of securing this nation, now divided by the numbers of Nigerians, you will now see the ratio, and you see that we are far, far behind. So we can only appeal to the government to see a means of, getting more hands into the security sectors to ensure that we have enough personnel so as to, proactively stop all this nonsense in Nigeria.
But this might go a little overboard, but I want you to take it easy with me, sir. A lot of people will say that the Nigerian police force, I've interviewed on that seat, I've had Mr. Kasumi on that seat. He has said a lot of things on this same issue of security. But that one thing is that we used to tell ourselves, we all know that we don't have enough security apparatus in this country to secure us.
Yes.
But we see our VIPs attached with security apparatus.
Yes.
Is that helping us as a nation?
Yes. Well, to some extent, economically, I think it has a lot to do. Most of these VIPs, they are industrialists. They have businesses in Nigeria, and if you know the direct impact of their business in the lives of Nigerians, you know that we cannot but try to protect them more. I don't want to mention names now.
Oh, yes, yes.
I can assure you, most of these VIPs, if they have been left unsecured and they are kidnapped, many businesses would have folded. This would have affected the economy grievously. So even in the developed world, we still have some personalities who have to themselves security to guide them because of their, because of their, what I would like to put is, because of who they are, their business, the society they are, and all that. So they cannot but be protected. Yes. All animals are equal, but some are equal
than the other.
Yes.
All right, sir. But we've been talking about developed worlds, and then if you say that we don't have enough personnel and we need to protect the VIPs,
yes.
Somebody like Donald Trump, even before he became the president, the amount he spent on the security of his family and himself is a very bogus amount of money.
Okay.
Why don't these people just go for private security rather than?
Yes, like in Nigeria, it's not all the agencies that are permitted or that has that carried arms. So if you are engaging in security today, especially these industrialists, they would rather want to have somebody with arms, because we have a lot of arms in the hands of these hoodlums here in Nigeria. And the only way you can protect yourself now is to have somebody with you that carries arms. You get it? So over there, yes, we have private security agencies. I wouldn't know whether they carry arms or not. But here in Nigeria, no private security is permitted to do that. You can only see that with the government's security agencies. So I doubt, or I think that is the reason why most of them come for the government's security agencies to protect them.
All right.
Because for you to protect them in Nigeria, your protector must be armed. Otherwise, if the kidnapper with sophisticated weapon, what will you do? Even you that is protecting somebody can be kidnapped alongside you. Person protecting.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We've been talking about kidnapping. Even while I was very young, your parents would know, like somebody like me, even though Ilorin is peaceful, your parents would not want you to go too far, because we've been hearing kidnapping. Some people kidnap for ransom, some people kidnap for rituals. So they people get kidnapped for different reasons. And how would you say that, has that dropped, or is still is on the rise in Nigeria as a whole and in Kwara?
The kidnapping that somebody like me grew up to know is the one for rituals. Now, if you are to trace the history of kidnapping in Nigeria, the one for ransom, I think it started from the South.
The Niger Delta region.
Yeah, the Niger Delta region. Before other criminals from other regions now embrace it and make it their businesses. You get it? Yes, the governments and security agencies have been doing a lot to ensure that kidnapping in Nigeria is drastically reduced. But we can only achieve this greatly with cooperation with the public. Nobody can commit any crime solely. You must have an accomplice. You must have informed one or two persons. So we can only protect ourselves, we can only protect our country, we can only protect our properties, we can only protect ourselves from being kidnapped by sharing intelligence information to security agencies. You get it? We cannot be everywhere. We do not have, we have talked about the manpower, we have talked about the personnel. We do not even have the gadgets to place surveillance on every movement in Nigeria. But we have people around that can share intelligence information to ensure that these things are being covered. If we get proactive information about all these activities, yes, definitely we're going to get them down.
Right. Everything you said now is tantamount to one of the most rigorous topic of the day in Nigeria today, that is community police. And we've heard about a lot of development. Almost every state had their own what they call it, committees set to come up with a very formidable policy on this issue of community policing. Are you carried along?
Yes, all security agencies in the state are carried along. I remember very well that His Excellency, the state government, in conjunction with all security agencies in Kwara, did a seminar, so to say, a kind of talk show with all other stakeholders and security agencies, and the meeting was held at Kwara Hotel. I was there, where discussions was made extensively on how all this crime can be, how agencies and stakeholders can work together to ensure that we protect ourselves using community policing. And what community policing has to do with is, taking security to the grassroots. It's all about that. Taking security to the grassroots. The community people being aware of what to do, how to share information. Get it? Community people policing themselves. That is the meaning. The community trying to put in place things that will make them to be secured. It does not necessarily have to be physical. Maybe through intelligence gathering and all that. You get it? So the Kwara State government, they have involved all the security agencies to ensure this is done. Even the non-governmental agencies like Vigilantes and Hunter Group of Nigeria, they were equally involved in this. So with this, I am sure with further effort, we get it done here in Kwara.
Like, on the kidnapping that we talk about, you talk about the history and the precedent of kidnapping in Nigeria, starting from the southern region, extending to some other regions. And even every region is not safe when it comes to kidnapping, mostly for ransom in Nigeria today. I will tell you that I have a brother that almost got kidnapped last week. And so one thing I want to say is that, let's say Kwara as in particular, you are a security agency, will you say that you are wary of the wave of kidnapping in Kwara State?
Well, it takes different turns on daily basis. And thankfully enough, I think kidnapping in Kwara is not as prevalent as we have it in some states. Kidnapping now has to do with viability of states, how economically viable a state is. The people you want to kidnap
must be well to do.
Must be well to do. You get it? So, but thankfully enough in Kwara, we are trying to do our best to ensure that these kidnappers do not find a comfortable place in Kwara. You may be aware that recently some kidnappers were operating in the Kwara North along this reserve forest.
Okay.
Yes, in fact, they have a den there. And thankfully enough, with the help of state government and with that of Oyo State, they've been able to, flush them out of that forest. And some other little places where they've been operating. So, but it all boils down to the fact that we need ourselves, public, government, security agencies, and all that. We cannot do it together to ensure that these people does not thrive in Kwara.
Talking about what to do, sir. My state is one of the top 10 richest states in Nigeria, so we are what to do. So let's go to this safe community policing. As a security personnel, what will you tell us to do? Like, how can we protect ourselves?
Yes, you as a Kwaran, as a Nigerian, you can protect yourself by saying what you see and say it the way you see it. By not keeping quiet when you see something strange around you. By not keeping criminals in the name of brotherhood or sisterhood. By exposing all criminal intents around you. With that, we get it right.
Alright, one thing is, a lot of people are afraid that what the unfortunate developments of last week, if it's not even up to a week now, it's like in five days ago. So a lot of people are afraid that as a security agent, do you have a hint that something like that might still be coming up, or that everything is already nipped in the bud and we should not expect some such development in recent time?
This is a society with a large number of people, and you cannot preempt the action of everybody. Ours is just to be at alert and to ensure that we do our best proactively. So we cannot confidently say now that this thing will not come up again. All we can say is we always put ourselves in line to ensure that we do our best to curb it.
Yeah, let me take you to the word proactive.
Okay.
And before the vandalization of the Ilorin cargo airline, the information was already in the public that something like that was about to happen, which means that it was around 10, 11 when we got the information, which means that security agencies like you, I'm very sure you would have gotten the information at worst 1 hour before the public. So, which means if something like that about to happen, you would have been having hints. So, do you believe that those hoodlums, a lot of hoodlums have been arrested? Some people were misguided. Some people normally are not hoodlums. They just see it as unfortunate opportunity, like opportunity that should not go. You know, Yoruba will say, and something. I don't want to take that to everybody. I'm 100% against the development. I'm 100% against the development. But what I want to say is, Ilorin is a city. Kwara is a city of harmony, and Ilorin has been known to be peaceful. I think this issue of curfew we are in now, the last time we had curfew in my state is about 17 years ago. So I think with the curfew and the things you have put in place, should we expect such development in recent time? People coming out to do such a thing?
We started by saying that Kwarans are peace-loving people. People that love peace. People that go about doing their businesses peacefully. Ilorin, Kwarans as a whole, they are people that love to dwell in peace. I am sure they are hearing us now, and they have over time told us that they will support us with useful information. The other time you are talking about, our men were on ground, but the mammoth crowd that was coming up, if they were to be repelled, we lose so many lives. It wasn't as if we cannot do that. You get it? So, but His Excellency has prevailed over it, and he said he doesn't want to lose any Kwarans. That they should be allowed to carry everything there. Nobody should be, beaten or anything. So, like I was saying, Kwarans are peace-loving people, and we are sure they will continue to cooperate with us and int us as quick as possible anytime they discover any movement that is strange.
All right, let's talk about it. We are already down the drain. We're almost winding everything up. I have a question. This is a question from the public.
Okay.
Why are the you-NSCDC personnel are not at work at night?
They're always at work, even at night.
24/7?
We have some units. We have units and departments in civil defense. We have departments according to our mandates. We have some core mandates and we have supportive mandates. You get it? Civil defense is shadowed responsibility of securing, apart from this general lives and properties of Nigeria, some government critical infrastructures, where you have government properties like the pipeline, like NEPA installations, that is PHCN now, or IBDEC, or I don't know what's called.
IBEDC,
water installations and all that. If you go there 24 hours a day, you get it. We equally have, this Kwasi government has a security outfit codenamed Operation Harmony. We have our men there, and they're always on patrol, they're always on surveillance, they're always there. We have armed squad. This armed squad, you see them too everywhere. So, like I told you, you may not be seeing us everywhere because we do not have the person. Yeah. But the little that we have, honestly, we're trying to do our best.
All right, thank you, sir. Lastly, you give us security tips.
Right.
To we and Quarians at large. So, what are the security tips? What are the things that can help us in securing our lives and even helping you with your work?
Let me start by appreciating Quarians once again. We have a mandate, core mandate in civil defense. And one of the core mandates, in fact the first one, is crisis management. Managing crisis. And managing crisis has to do with even being proactive. You know, getting out to avoid those crises. Recently, my commandant went out with some of us to check some buildings here in Kwara. Because we're only talking about security from criminals now. We're not talking about security of lives that could be, you know, tampered with our uncare attitude to infrastructures, like dilapidated buildings, like not having safety on fire issues, on all these what do you call it, on a lot of natural things that could come up to cost people their lives. So he went out and to some part of Ilorin, and he has adequately informed the government on what he saw there. The need for government to move all out to ensure that some buildings are either being pulled down, so that we do not have, because if those buildings should go down, they're only going to have loss of life. And these people are not being killed by criminals, but out of uncare attitude. You get it? So we're talking of fraud as well. I mean, flawed as well. Our people trying to, you know, save the community from being, from experiencing unnecessary fraud by not dumping refuge in places that they're not supposed to put it. These are the things we do. Now, coming to talk about the criminal aspect of the society on how to protect ourselves about it. Like I told you, we've sent so many tips out there. You should try to avoid moving around late in the night. You should try as much as possible to ensure that your building or your residence is well illuminated, putting up security lights and all that. Now, we are now in an advanced technological world where you have cybercrime. Don't just buy any gadgets, if not in the recognized shop. Because if you end up buying a phone, for example, from just anyhow person, you know, this may lead you to untold something. Because if you end up buying a phone from a criminal that you never can tell, you know where that one can take you to. So people should be conscious of the environment. Number one, is be conscious of the people around them. Yes, we are not saying we should not trust anybody, but you should trust yourself and be conscious of the environment. And make sure anything you see strangely, you report it. Even if your ward, I mean your child or any of your children, is exhibiting any character that you think would be inimical to society. If you cannot personally stop the child, you better report the child. If you bring up your child to us, civil defense, telling us what he's doing that you think should be corrected. In a civil way, we're going to do that. You get it? Because that will save us from a lot of things. So you know, anything you observe, now if you drive your car, make sure your car are in good order so that you're not going to injure other road users. Secure your car by, you know, putting up the necessary security something, because we see all these crimes are coming up, you know, hijacking each other. Before now it was car theft, phone theft, kidnapping, and a lot of others. So for us to safeguard or to protect our properties, we need to do all this by ensuring that we, as much as we can, do all these security, digital security technology that are in vogue now to ensure that our home, our life are secure.
Talking about in vogue technologies.
Yeah.
In the recent unfortunate incident in Kwara State, talk about an organization like ShopRite, Femtech, Chipet. These are very big organizations as far as Kwara is concerned.
Yeah.
They have a lot of technology, modern technology. Has the technology helped you in fishing out some woodlands?
Definitely. Well, we have not gone to that. Yes, we have not gone to that. What we are doing now is just recovering those items. And we are still telling the public to voluntarily come out. By the time the door is closed, now we now go into chasing them. And with that, I will once again want to appeal to whoever that has found him or herself in that act to voluntarily bring back those things. If you bring it back, they will record it so that eventually, if the CCTV eventually bring you out, we have evidence that you have returned it. Otherwise, I'm appealing to Kwarans now. Because some people followed friends to go and commit that act. So we are appealing to them, bring them to us. We will write it down so that when eventually the CCTV comes up, then you will not be arrested again.
Alright, so Mr. Olasunkanmi Ayeni, the PRO of Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Kwara State Command, has been speaking with me for the past 1 hour. So I want to say, like I said, please, to everybody, we all have our lapses. If you know you are involved in the looting or vandalization of public and private properties, Mr. Olasunkanmi is trying to tell us that you have the privilege now to bring it and go back to your house safe. Once the door is closed, you don't have any other thing. Thank you so much, Mr. Olasunkanmi. I wish if we invite you some other time, you will grant our invitation. Thank you very much. This is where we draw the curtain on our program Security of Lives and Property. I'm your host once again, Isaac Abdulkadir Layola, our phone stabilist.